situation, who can even be a bridge to get us to the other side. But I think when we get to the other side, it'll be the other side of realness.
I think Joe Biden has a chance to be LBJ.
Next LBJ.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I don't believe you can be a Democrat and be a Christian at the same time. I just don't believe it.
That's why you better be independent. You can't be a Republican and a Christian at the same time either. Just ask the evangelicals.
What's up? What's up, everybody? It's Monday night, so you know what time it is. I am Lamar, your humble host. Trying to be cool tonight. Got my shades on. They won't be on long, but we got some great topics to get to tonight. We have an amazing, interesting debate that's coming up tomorrow. We're going to chat a little bit about that. We're going to talk all things Trump, Biden, a little bit of Gavin Newsom, and some other things as well. And we have some amazing guests, a lot of familiar faces and some faces that are new. And I'm excited to chat it up with everybody. Let's go and bring my friends on. Kind of like Fox and Friends. I'm not saying I'm with Fox, but you know. What's going on, Madison? I know you.
Hey there. How you doing?
Pretty good, King Noble. What's up?
How you doing?
Miss Candace, of course. How are you?
Hey.
Mr. Haynes, my big brother.
People.
And we have a new face in the house, Mr. LeWade. Help me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Saying it right, man. Saying it right.
How you doing, man?
I'm well.
My Tuskegee classmate.
HBCU?
So you brought somebody to try to gang up on people. Man, we're gonna have to handle
the Wade is very controversial. He got along with nobody at school.
I'll correct on that. I'm not controversial. What I did was I expressed my opinions that people couldn't understand or want to understand. That's why she said I didn't get along with people. I didn't follow the norm.
Okay.
Well, cheers to that, sir.
I'm gonna try my best to figure out where you fall on the spectrum as we're talking. I don't even want to know until I'm gonna figure it out because I know we got some Republicans in here. No, do we? No, I don't think we do. I know we got some liberals in here. We got some conservatives in here. We got some Christians in here. We got some non-Christians in here. We got a little bit of everything in the room. So I'm gonna wait to see where you fall. Well, we got a moderate. I'm considering myself a moderate, so I'm the moderate in the middle. I'm on the fence. So let's get this party started, Miss Producer. What are we talking about first? Let's go to California. Oh, we ain't going to California. Let's go to California first. I want to go to California. I want to get it started. Gavin Newsom. Saturday, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he passed a law allowing transgenders, forgive me. Transgender men corrected multiple times. Proper term.
Get it right,
forgive me,
get it right.
Improper terminology. I don't know. I've heard all types of terms. I've heard transvestite, tranny, transgender, transsexual. I don't know what's right these days, so forgive me if I'm wrong. All right, so help me. Transgender, I think is right. Let's go with that. That transgenders get the option when they're taken to jail, of whether, depending on how they identify, whether they want to be in the ladies' jail or the men's jail. However, if the correctional facility objects to it, they could decline. However, the person going to jail, the transgender man or woman, can object to it as well. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are. And let's start with our new friend here. What are your thoughts on it? Do you feel like transgender men and women who are going to jail, where you typically lose some rights, should have an option based on how they identify, whether they should be in a ladies' prison or jail or men's prison or jail? What are your thoughts?
So let me just get some clarity real quick, because I read about that. So when you said that they can object, so basically if a transgender, right, so a person born a female who identifies as a male now commits a crime, so they get put, so they can select whether or not they get put into a male prison or a female prison. Right?
They're asked that when there's, what do they call it, at I can't think of what it's called. They're asked whether or not they identify as a man or a woman, and that determines which jail they go into.
So therefore, if a female who identifies as a male goes into a male, commits a crime and goes to a male prison, I thought you said that they could, the courts could object to where they want to go.
They could decline it initially, but then the transgender male or female has an opportunity to object to that declination, and they have to write out a statement as to why they're declining them from being able to choose the facility they'd like to be housed in.
Well, yep, I read up on that. I'm in total disagreement. Right, you should be in a jail in which you were born as. What I'm looking at is going back and forth is affecting the taxpayers. So my money, your money, their money, all gets affected by by appeals, by going back and forth, by identifying, right? And I understand that jails can be private institutions, etc., so forth. But therefore, the point is whatever you identify, whatever you were born as, not what you identify as, because I could identify as a rich white male, but I'm not, right? so whatever you were born as, right? Whatever you were born as is a jail that you should be convicted to.
Interesting. Anybody have a different opinion than that?
I do. I'm an advocate for transgender people, especially transgender women, Black transgender women. At this time, they, just like Black women, their lives are in danger like mine. And so for them to have to go to a prison with men and be subjected to the violence that they might have experienced outside of the jail, I don't think that's right. I think that they need to be protected, just like I guess I would be if I was in the jail. Hopefully I will never be sent to jail, but I definitely feel like they should have the right to be in a woman's jail.
I think that I think there's a couple of important things to think about here. First of all, for those people who care about the science, I guess I feel a responsibility to talk a little bit about the science the things that we're learning about sex and gender. The science is coming in, and there's still a lot that we're learning. But what we are finding out, and what they have begun to discover, is that, first of all, this idea that people are either XX or XY is based upon a lot of things that we're learning are not. It's not quite that simple. We're learning that things like the hormones that are in the womb while a woman is carrying a child can affect the gender expression and the sex. It can change what happens in the brain. And one of the things that they've been able to do with brain science is they've actually been able to test people who were assigned one sex at birth, but who have always said that they feel that they were not that sex. And what they're discovering is that the brains of the people who are transgendered actually are more, in many ways, are more closely. The functions are more closely aligned with the gender, the sex that they say that they identify as, not the sex that they were assigned at birth. So I want to just say that first of all. But I think when we get into these issues like this, these are these types of issues that challenge our thinking, and they challenge the foundations of what we've always been taught. So it becomes personal. But I think what we have to do is play it out to the end. I like to say play it out to the end. So let's assume that I'm a person who was assigned female at birth, but I've always identified as being a man. And you might look at me and you might not know that I'm a man. Now, or you might look at me and say, okay, she's a woman, but she might not be a man. She might be a man. You might not know. If that person ends up going to jail, you have to believe that they know they're going to choose what is safest for them. If I'm a woman and I look like a woman, and whatever a stereotypical woman looks like, and even though I identify as a man, I'm not going to ask you, probably not going to ask you to stick me in a prison with a bunch of dudes. Okay? Probably not going to do that. And vice versa. If I'm a dude and I look like a sort of a dude, I'm probably not gonna. I'm not gonna make up a story so I can be in prison with a bunch of women under this idea that I'm gonna all of a sudden be surrounded by, you know, sex. People who are making these decisions, first of all, they got to go to prison. So this is not fun for them. But we have to give them credit for being able to understand what might be safest for them. All of us here, and I don't know if everybody here is cisgendered. I'm cisgendered woman. I'm a femme presenting woman.
What is
but
cisgender?
I know I can't. I don't know that life, but I can assume that they know what the dangers are to them in any given situation, and that they would be inclined to not put themselves in greater danger than would be absolutely necessary.
Let me jump in. What is cisgender? Then we're gonna go to Brendan after you tell me that, because I always hear that, but I don't know what it is. Not sure if I am or not.
Cisgender is when you're the sex that you were assigned at birth is also your gender expression. So I was assigned female at birth. Mm-hmm. I've always felt like a female, and my gender expression is female. So I am cisgendered. I'm not transgendered. I'm not non-binary. I'm not gender non-conforming. I'm a cisgendered woman. My sex that I assigned at birth agrees with how I feel in my brain.
Okay. All right, Brendan, jump in there, man. What you got?
Brittany, I need 5 minutes, please.
give him the big screen. Put us on the side.
Give me the big screen. Brittany, I'm taking a detour right quick, if you don't mind, because this is the problem. I don't want to address that in a sense, but I want to address the things that nobody's talking about, right? Is this discombobulated thought process, these words that we come up with to bring about new clarity. The problem is you guys are going to want your cake and eat it too, because say for instance, Joanna Man does go to jail, right? And then Joanna Man is in jail with the other ladies. Then watch this, y'all. What's going to happen if they get into a fight? Is that then abuse from a man to a woman? Because remember, people have a problem when a man beats a woman. But if he don't identify as a man, but he beating her head in like a man, are y'all gonna get mad as though a man is beating up a woman? I just think we just really we really muddy in this water, y'all, because then y'all can't say it's okay for Joanna Man to beat her, but then Dwayne can't beat her. And I know you don't beat women, Dwayne. You just look stronger than everybody else tonight, so I just want to say your name. But that's what I'm saying. Like, how are we going to begin to keep dividing these waters the way we are about what's right and what's wrong when we just make up words to then turn wrong into right? I don't get that. Like, how are we going to do this? Is it okay now to beat women as a man, or as long as you don't identify it? It's
not okay to beat anybody. It's not okay for any person to strike any person. I mean, I don't understand the question. Are we talking about? I mean, come on, man. Are we talking about? We're talking about people going to prison, being sentenced to prison, and having to make a choice about. All fights in prison are fights in prison. I mean, is that what you're really? I mean, that's your opposition.
No.
So
it's not. You get in trouble if you're in fights in prison. It doesn't matter.
I got something to say. I'm trying to be nice to my brother. He was talking. You know I'm gonna come for you. Hold on.
So, all right. I look at this as a very it's a touchy subject. My uncle works for the North Carolina State of Corrections. He works for, the state, and he deals with this exact issue because there is an actual transgender male he identifies as a woman. He is in population with, the other inmates. However, they segregate him out of general population. They keep him separated. They do afford him all the, all the amenities or whatever it takes to continue the lifestyle as identifying as a woman.
Well, like so the estrogen or what have you.
Yeah, the estrogen and everything. So, and the reason that they do this is because of one, the high amount of rape case, sexual harassment cases, sexual assault charges that they have within the prison system. So what North Carolina is already trying to do is they're trying to help steer this, because we all know what happens in prison. Homies get to going, and they get to going. They don't, somebody gonna turn into somebody's boyfriend in prison, or vice versa. But the way the state, as far as I know, is North Carolina is trying to do. They're trying to deviate from this because of the identification. Now, do I think that going forward that all states should adopt this process?
Right.
I mean, it just depends on your state, because I mean, you're gonna have this issue regardless of the fact, because they're gonna, inmates are gonna like, hold up, how is this inmate getting all the special treatment? Oh, because they want to identify as a female. Nah, they should be in here with general population, getting it just like everybody else. So on
It's a whole bunch of everything, bro.
Uh-oh.
Watch this, Dwayne. Dwayne,
so on and so forth. Huh?
Let me finish dealing with Madison for just a second, because this is what I'm saying. Don't y'all give more energy? Don't you all give more energy to a man beating a woman versus another woman having an altercation physically with another woman? Is there not more of an alarm that's going on? Because y'all begin to talk at him. Y'all will be he's a man, he's a woman beater, right? But how are we gonna make this make sense? If you put a wig on, it's okay.
What about, I want to ask you this, Britton. What about the men that are taking hormones that are no longer as you can say, as strong as typical men?
Okay, yeah, man, there's so many tentacles, right? We can always put a scenario in a totally different box. I'm with you, and I hear you. Every situation is gonna always have another what if. All I'm saying is, all the stuff we're trying to put into a pot, it ain't gumbo, because it just ain't gonna work. I mean, it's gonna always be something wrong. It's gonna always be another caveat to the situation it's gonna always change the thought process. I just feel like we should call a pair of pants a pair of pants and leave it like it is, and instead of saying, well, no, those are culottes, or those are shorts that just go a little long. I don't understand why we gotta be extra with it.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, with the other men.
We'll swing up to Luane, then we'll go to our new guy, Cedric, or J-Rock.
All right, y'all can hear me, right?
Go Steelers.
That's what y'all can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I just have 3 comments. Number 1, what would you do with individuals that consider themselves asexual?
Asexual is not the same. Asexual is not the same. That is a sexual orientation, but that's not the same as your gender expression. So
actually,
what you're talking about. So you can be asexuality has nothing to do with gender expression. You can be a cis man, you can be a cis woman, you can be transgender, you can be anything. You can be and be asexual. Asexual has to do with your sexual attractions, nothing to do with your gender expression.
So the asexuality I'm referring to is those that to combat you, I've heard individuals say, "Hey, I'm asexual." That means I do not identify as a male. I do not identify as a female.
That would be gender non-conforming, or it would be non-binary. But
so non-binary. So
asexuality is not. That is not what asexuality is. That they
all right. So non-binary. So now that we've identified a term for it called non-binary, what do you do with non-binary people?
Right, you can be non-binary and not be asexual. I'm just.
I'm off of the asexual. I'm on the non-binary. What do you do with somebody that's non-binary?
This is the whole thing, right? We're having a discussion about people who are off, who are non-binary, transgender, gender non-conforming, making a choice about which institution they're going to be imprisoned in. And I think that all of us here are cisgendered, and we can have our opinions on it, but at the end of the day, they know what situation they're going to be in that would be safest or least safe for them. And
let
I
me
don't
stop you
really
there.
see
So let me
any-
stop you there. If we just agree that non-binary says that you do not identify as a male or female, at what point do you say, okay, what jail I want to go to? Because it's not. Because if you don't identify as something, then you become infinite, and if you're
well,
infinite, you don't have a jail for that.
no, there's a
You do
lot of
like children do
different.
with their
There's a lot.
parents.
So
It's divorce.
people who are
You go 1 week to
non-binary
one house
may
another.
or may not identify with an individual gender, or they may be
Mhm.
gender fluid. They may be
Mhm.
gender fluid. Okay, they may be. Sometimes they have more. They feel more female. Sometimes they feel more male. Sometimes they actually, like you said, they don't. Again, at the end of the day, we're having a conversation of, and by the way, these people have existed since the beginning. So it's not like all of a
The beginning
sudden,
of
it's not like all of a sudden this is a thing that we're having to figure out how to send them. All we're doing, all this law does is give them some kind of, it gives them the ability to say, I'm going to be safer. My life is going to be safer in a male prison or a female prison. Now, that's all it's doing. These people have always
That's confusing.
existed, and we've
But no,
always put
what
them
it is-
in one place or another.
So here it is, right? So what I'm asking, and apologies on the asexual thing. What I meant to say was gender fluid, right? So that's off the table. So we're not talking asexual. We're just talking about gender fluid and non-binary and all that other good jazz. And what it does is it muddies up the water, because now if I come in, I commit a crime, and I say, hey, I'm gender fluid. Where do you want to go? Back home. Because I
Okay,
don't
but
feel
they're
safe
not
as
gonna
a
send
male.
you
I
back
don't feel
home
safe as a female.
because you've been
Exactly.
they ain't sending you home because you
Same
sent to
exact point.
prison. So
It's
you
the
got to
same
pick.
exact point.
Now,
Hey,
no, this is a great exercise, though. This is a great exercise. So now
Real
let's
quick.
play it out to the end, just like I said.
Okay.
Now,
Where's the end? Where's
are
the
you going
end?
into a
Where's the
women's
end?
Hold on,
prison?
guys.
Or are you going into a men's prison? Which one do you want?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
So let's play it out to the end. This is a great
Okay.
exercise. Let's say, for example, that you consider yourself gender fluid. Sometimes you feel female, sometimes you feel male.
Mhm.
And let's say they give you the option. Which one do you want to do? Now pick.
Okay, I'll pick female.
Okay, so you're gonna go to the female prison,
Mhm.
and what do you imagine is gonna happen there?
A whole lot of sex.
Right. Thank you. Because then just like
You know how long getting there.
I mean,
Can we
That's
go to
so-
Go ahead. I'm serious.
Guys, can we go to J
I'm
Rock
serious
real quick? Hey guys, I want to get J Rock here real fast. He just jumped in. I want him to chime in real quick, and then we'll get him back. J Rock, what you got, man?
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. First of all, this is not a Steelers hat. That is just a sign for steel workers in Pittsburgh. And because I'm a part of this recruiting district, they use that steel working sign. This is not the Steelers. I am a Cowboys fan, but I
Oh, fight words.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's horrible.
This.
Well, you just as
I mean,
confusing as
you
this
was
topic then.
you was okay until you said you were a cowgirl fan.
All right, what you got, man?
But what I wanted to say is, first of all, she cleared that part up about first as human beings, and it seems like, and I don't want nobody to get offended when I say this because we're all adults, it's our Black community that has a big problem with this more than other communities, and I ran into that in the past 20 years of being in the United States Navy, going through the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, trying to get transgender pass and all that for people to join, where they're going to sleep at, where they're going to do it. Everybody always worried about sex except for the person that we are talking about. The transgender people, the non-binary people, sex be the furthest thing from their mind. Psychiatrists, counselors, everybody. Before you can even say you trans and go to a certain identity and stuff like that, you have to go through psychological tests. Counselors have to talk to you. They know if you just trying to go somewhere for like she just asked you, you want to go to the male or the female prison. I'm pretty sure they're gonna see and make you. They're gonna see, are you like lying or are you just trying to? Because they're gonna run tests and everything. Gender versus sex. Always thinking about sex first. Sex. Y'all just said if he goes to the female prison, what you think gonna happen? A lot of sex. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I don't mean to pop your bubble, But there is a lot of sex going on in the men's prison with no women. Trust me. So let's get the sex part off. There is a lot of sex going on in the female prison with no men. And they're all identified as the sex that they are in. So when you take sex out of it, if you go into that prison and you trying to have sex with a bunch of women because you claim to be a woman, you think you want to be in a lot of danger, trouble, just as a man attacking another man. So if sex out of it and go by gender. Gender is what you on the inside feel that you identify as. Once y'all start peeling this onion back and going into science and the makeup of a human being, take away this training and stuff that has been put in our head since kids before they had the intelligence to understand the human body and what we come out. It got so bad at one point that people that were homosexual used to get a check because they thought something was wrong with you if you were a homosexual, only for science to come forward so much to let you know that J-Rock, Cedric Johnson, a gay man, I don't need no check. I've been in the military for 3 years. I'm just as smart as the next person. I got enough sense because you giving me a check saying something wrong with me. Now, when I go out here and shoot you, I could use that to my advantage. Well, you know something wrong with me. You know that I'm not mentally capable. No, I am very mentally capable to do anything that the next person is doing. Why? Because nothing's wrong with me. Somebody has told us in the beginning that something is wrong with you for being gay.
I got a question.
What was that?
Tam said something. She said we should all be protected. I'm just interested in why everyone gets extra choices and extra rights for prison, but blacks. Lori got to pick her prison. Trans will pick their prison. Blacks get what? So many issues with it. Yeah. What if I said that there's a whole lot of Aryans in there, a whole bunch of Muslims, and they're gonna either make me be Muslim or make me be somebody's girlfriend, and I just don't want to go. I want to go to the saved prison. Now we're gonna start building a saved prison? Like, when does it? I feel like when does it end on this? You get stripped of your rights when you go to jail, but there's all these different subgroups now where everyone gets to decide on a specialty right that they get. And I think it just makes it, I think it's a fine line on a Ted Bundy or someone that takes advantage of this and goes in and can beat a psychological exam, which they didn't say anything about in the law, and go in and say, I'm a woman. I murdered 15 people. I'm a serial killer, but my name's Sheila. You got to put me with the women. It blurs the line. How do you keep that from happening? How do you keep that from happening?
So I think a lot of this stems from society trying to polish and fluff and make everything look all pretty and everything. And I think that's the problem. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, we got to understand people to people. This is what you identify as and everything, but this is prison, y'all. Don't nobody get no choice. You don't get a choice. I mean, you made the choice to kill somebody, you made the choice to rob somebody, you made the choice to do whatever crime it took to get you in prison. So at the end of the day, regardless if you identify as a male, if you identify as a female, then you got to go with what your birth certificate says. Your birth certificate says you are Johnny, so you got to go with all the males. I mean, if they go, I mean, I don't know. California, they just got a lot of things. It's an interesting state because California is just an interesting state.
Why do you suppose that they separate the males from the females? Why do we have different prisons?
Well, they separate the males from the females is the simple fact that like procreation, and then because they already know that there's going to be a lot of sexual assault and everything else in prison. And this is just what I'm learning working with my uncle, because I asked him the same. Well, talking to my uncle, I didn't work with him. I asked him the same thing. I'm like, hey, why do they separate males from females in prisons? And he's like, hey, nephew, you got to understand. You put a whole bunch of women in a prison with a whole bunch of men that's been in prison for 5, 6, 7, 20, 13 years. You already know what's about to happen.
Right. So I'm just wondering then, if I am a trans woman and I present as a trans woman and I present as a woman, why would I be safer in a male prison than I would be in a female prison?
You're not gonna be safer either way. You know,
Well,
I mean,
no. But I gotta pick one. So if I have to go to prison because I've been sentenced for a crime and I present as a woman, but I was born assigned male at birth, but I look like a woman, I act like a woman, and for every intent and purpose, I am a woman. And you send me where would I be safer, in a male prison or in a female prison?
To be totally honest with you, I don't think you'd be safer even in a woman's prison. I think the women gonna be pissed off that you even there anyway, and they probably end up whooping you.
I mean,
committed the crime.
So
I would disagree with that, but for reasons.
I mean, depending on the state, women's
like you
prisons,
said, it's all our opinions.
Women's prisons have it, and I go off North Carolina because this is just the numbers that I've seen. This is what I've seen and I've known. Like, North Carolina women's prisons are twice as rough as the men's prisons. They're twice as dangerous and twice as rough. But I mean, at the end of the day,
would you send me the way I look right now into a men's prison?
If you were a man or if you were
it doesn't matter, because you don't know if I'm trans or not. I could very well be trans.
Well, we got to strip you down and all that. Now, if you still got your package when we strip you down,
if I look like this, I don't want to go to a men's prison.
Well, some of the dudes in there
because
look
I
like
know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be in bad shape.
They put all that makeup on.
Right. As a defense of the people of the Republic, my money is being affected no matter how you put this, right? No matter if I send you to a male prison, female prison, to keep your estrogen going, whatever it is, as a taxpayer, my money is being affected, right? So therefore, one, I would tell you don't commit the crime, but hell, I'm not going to go back in the 1980s with it. But what I'm going to tell you to do is you are going to go to a prison in which you were born, right? You were born as a male, you will go there. You will be happy, you will serve out your time, end the story. But there's a question that I do have for you. You keep using the word identified and
the happy part.
Nah, I'll be facetious. But to your point, two questions. Number one, you keep using the word identified and assigned. Why is it those are the two words that I keep hearing the most from you? If you identify as a male or you are assigned a gender, you are not assigned a gender. You are born as a gender.
It's assigned. You're assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth. That's the terminology that's used in the trans community. So when people are talking, and in the gender nonconforming community, you're given a sex assignment at birth. So they'll say I was assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth. Sometimes you'll see the letters A, M, A, B or A, F, A, B, assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth. So that's just part of the terminology that is used in the trans community and in the gender nonconforming.
The reason why the doctor assigns you a gender at birth is because that doctor seeing from his eyes and everything is male or female. But here goes the one that's really going to throw y'all off. What do you assign a hermaphrodite?
Good question. Where do they go?
So that goes to show you that because of what we was raised and all this kind of stuff, there are really people out there that are born with both parts. But there are people out there that was born with both parts, but their parents chose what gender they should be at birth only to grow up with all the things of the other gender. You see what I'm saying? So if you can be born with both parts.
What's the percentage in that though, man?
Right,
here goes the thing. Y'all saying what's the percentage in that? I'm telling you, we only know the percentage because of what has been reported. But if that can possibly happen, it doesn't matter if it was 1%.
I got you.
That means that it can possibly happen. So if you can be born with both parts, who's to say that you can't be born with the mind or the brain of the other person? It's like once you start really pulling it back, going into stuff like sexual reassignment surgery and all the things that we have that are alike as a woman and a man, then it really. What was that?
They do the testing on
But this is what I'm saying to you. My brother from Pittsburgh. This is what I'm saying to you, man. even if you make a great point, but even if we figure out for that point about that particular person, why do we have to then roll the ball down the hill and let it snowball into this big? All of a sudden now we need assignments. When Dr. see you on the sonogram with your genitals, it's like, well, no, I don't think he's gonna be that. What do you mean? It's a joke. He's a boy. It's a
Because
girl.
what we're discovering,
like
because what we're discovering is that there are a lot of factors that go into how you feel about what your gender is, and it can be different than what your genitals and your sex are. And we're discovering that things like hormonal balances in utero can affect how your brain develops, and how different hormones are developed in a developing fetus. And what we're learning is that there are people who are being born with one set of sexual organs, but who, for whatever reason, have a brain that is more closely aligned with the sex of the other gender that they belong to. This is the science of it. We're discovering things as we go. And I think it's really important that as we begin to as we begin to learn more and understand more, that we don't become calcified in these ideas. Because you know what? This is what science is about. This is what progress is about. This is about being able to say, well, what is the new body of knowledge that we have about this particular issue? Because, you know, we could still be doing brain lump. We could still be doing phrenology if it wasn't for the fact that we have a thing called science. And as we move forward and our understanding grows, as they say, you know better, do better. As we learn new things, the mark of civilized people is that we are able to understand those things and try to understand those things. And sometimes it requires us to make adjustments to our thinking, not because but just because we have a greater understanding. There was a time when they thought that the lunar eclipse was caused by, some kind of weird supernatural force. We now understand what causes lunar eclipses. We have to be open to understanding new information.
But let me say this right, what you're saying, because you made a statement, let's let it play out. I don't mind letting it play out, but my problem is every play we keep making, we always making decisions. Or we figure this out. Well, that's a new decision. Or we figure something else out. Why don't we just leave it as it is until y'all figure it all the way out? Instead
that's not how science works here. That's not how science works. That's not how science works. That's not how science works. We build on things over time. This is how science works. Everything that we know today didn't just start out. We knew all of this stuff like 100 years ago. Like science builds on itself. We might know something today, and then in 5, 10 years, 15 years, we learn something more and we put more information into it. It's really regressive to say, well, unless we know everything, then we don't do anything. That makes no sense.
So yeah, I understand what you're saying about science.
Bacteriology, about virology is built upon things that we learned hundreds of years ago. We are washing our hands today to lower the incidence of COVID. They didn't always know that bacteria and viruses were even a thing. We build on knowledge year over year and time over time. That's how science works.
All right. So to your point, though, you're talking about, you're making it seem like it's transitional. They didn't know about bacteria back in the back in the 1800s, back in Europe when they had the plague, right, and all that other shit. They just like, oh, how did this happen? Boom. Then they all of a sudden discovered bacteria. They said, hey, maybe if we keep a healthy lifestyle, we all won't die and become sick. I get your point about transition, right? So with COVID, right, back in March, they said, what, N95 masks are the best masks, face coverings ain't going to do nothing. All of a sudden now, 3 months later, 6 months later, face coverings do face coverings, right? Yeah, you learn. Okay, good. Right. But the point that I'm trying to further go on is that right now you have, I'm a believer, 2 genders, okay? Male, female. Everything else is a gray area. And I'm not saying, okay, everything else is a gray area, right? So you have, what's the proper word for saying hermaphrodites? But you have that, they're doing testing on that, right? Nonetheless, you are a male, you are a female, you go to a male prison, you go to a female prison. This gray area that's going on, that that doesn't work.
No, it might not
Right.
work for you, but the science
No,
is
no,
pretty
no, no.
clear on it. I'll be happy to
Help with
send
the
you links.
science.
I'll be happy
You
to
can you
send
can
you
send me
links.
links.
I'll
I
be
put
happy
science
to
in
send you
myself.
links. The science we are growing. There's a growing body of science on this issue. So I mean, you know, you don't have to
Let
believe
me
it.
ask you
You
this.
don't
Let me
want
ask you
to.
this. Do you
but
think the
what
Earth is
it
flat? Do you think the Earth is flat? Do you
No,
think
the Earth is
flat? Yes or
not
no?
flat.
Well, how do you
The
know?
Earth is not flat. The Earth is a
Wait.
sphere.
Wait, no, I'm gonna prove my point with science. You don't think the Earth is flat? How do you know the Earth is not flat?
Because there's a body of science and across all these different, across a bunch of different disciplines that wouldn't work if it was flat.
Okay.
You didn't answer my question.
J. Rod, you want to jump in? Then we're going to jump on to Trump's amazing plan for the blacks.
Well, because I had a whole another platform that I got to be at. Let me just first of all, I heard somebody say that about the men beating the women and all this kind of stuff, and if they're transgender, would they be a man and all this stuff. I'm gonna tell y'all like this. Now, I was raised don't touch a girl until I started watching Layla Ali. If Layla Ali hit me, I'm gonna hit that girl back, because that might be my only chance to survive. We getting so y'all telling me right now as men, if Layla take a screen up with you, you gonna say, no, you a girl, Layla. She gonna knock you out and might knock you out for good. But
I'm telling you got it.
I don't condone violence on anybody. People need to keep their hands to themselves. But I will say this, that when y'all are peeling back this onion, my thing is, I grew up a Christian young man. What y'all gotta understand is there are a lot of young men and women, non-binary, whatever, that are out there as teenagers that are fighting this inner demon, not because of themselves, but because of what we are putting on them to make them feel like something is wrong with them. So once some of them never come out of it and they go down the wrong path, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever, trying to suppress these demons. But then you got some people, like I said, I was raised Christian and everything. I was raised in the church, was in the youth ministry and everything, trying to fight what they're telling me is wrong. You see what I'm saying? That something is wrong with me, not to ever tell anybody that it was. You see what I'm saying? Because nobody knew. You wouldn't know who I am until I open my mouth and I tell you who I am. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, when y'all are doing these things, y'all got to take off y'all got to think logically, scientifically, and what's natural first. If you think natural first, then spiritual, you will see that all of us that are here, this is just a body, but we are spirits first. I'm not trying to be like on no church stuff or nothing like that. I'm talking about naturally. You are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Everything in this world is protons, neutrons, and electrons. So now when we come to just being man, woman, and all this kind of stuff and everything, I'm just trying to open up y'all minds to understand that it's a lot of different entities in this. It's a lot of different parts. We have to try to understand it first, because at the end of the day, you are human. And you gotta have human rights. You can't go around just mistreating people because what we think is right versus what we find out through scientific knowledge of what's being right. Because you put somebody in the wrong place, they can mentally and psychologically break down because they don't feel that they are wrong. And we keep putting sex on it and all this kind of stuff. But the people we are talking about never thinking about sex and all this kind of stuff. They just thinking about and those things of that matter. So it's a hard subject. I'm not saying that y'all are even wrong with what y'all thinking. Yeah. I'm saying we as people got to start really peeling back that onion and getting into the natural and scientific of what the human body and who we are as humans.
All right. Well, but thank you for that. And we're going to move on to the next. That was quite an interesting topic. Trump has a plan, a platinum plan, mind you, not a silver or gold or bronze.
Platinum.
But a platinum plan for the colors, for the blacks. This president's so-called platinum plan calls for nearly $500 billion increase in black communities' access to economic capital. It makes Juneteenth a federal holiday. It makes the KKK and Antifa a terrorist organization, deems them terrorist organizations, and also makes lynching a national hate crime. Right. This is, you can bring them back. This is all stuff that we like, right?
me like it. All right, so what it is?
Nah, bro, I don't like none of it.
So in the big scheme of things, right? In the big scheme of things,
So-
with this platinum plan, which is similar to what Joe Biden was saying in his, right? He didn't call
Joe
it
Biden put one out? Oh.
Joe Biden has one too, but what the both of them are doing are it's like a tennis ball, right? It's a tennis ball, and they're throwing it and they're saying, "Go blacks, go get it," right? While over here, us adults play, and what adults playing is talking about from the economic standpoint of everything going on, right?
Right.
Like, I don't care that Juneteenth is a national holiday. It seems like last year everybody discovered Juneteenth, right? Right? I don't care. I care about the whole hate crime. We've been begging for that for years, since John Bird, right? Even behind that. Hell, isn't it a hate crime already because of what's my man's name in Wyoming? Matthew Laramie from the 90s?
It's been a hate crime. It's been a hate crime since the early 90s.
Right. So all of this is just what this all is just pandering. Both of them are pandering issues in both of their statements, right? I'm an HBCU graduate. Candace is an HBCU graduate. Anybody in here HBCU graduate, pick up. But nonetheless, they're like, yo, we're gonna give money to HBCUs. We're gonna do this for HBCUs. And I'm like, and when you read it, you're like, all it is just words. It's objective. And what I wish for let me close out my points by this. With the platinum plan, what it should have done, right? What I would have liked to see was all the stuff that he's done in the past 4 years for blacks, and how his plan will actually increase or better, right? Because he has the quickest data out of everybody else. And for Joe Biden, I don't want to read any more of these words. I want to hear, all right, I was in office, even vice presidency, for 8 years. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I did for 8 years. This is what I'm going to do now. Kamala Harris, Jamaican, big up. She was excellent at her job. She could have used that and said, all right, well, this is what I've convicted 95% of the cases I had, but this is what I've learned, and this is how I'm going to help blacks in their conviction cases. It could have been a lot more data, could have been a lot more analytics. It was just
more honest. Yeah, the way you would jump in.
So I read that shit, excuse my language.
No.
And I think it's an ultimate, like, I think it's the biggest slap in the face I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Yes, that is my boss. That is my commander in chief. So I'm gonna keep my comments as light as possible. But first of all,
I'll do it for you, brother. I'll do it for you.
He has done things to defund HBCUs, because a lot of HBCUs are closing nationally. I'm a 2-time HBCU graduate, and one of my HBCUs is on the verge of closing down. Big up to St. Augustine University, Raleigh, North Carolina. But I don't think this is. I think like my man said right here, Tuskegee. It's just basically a slap in the face. It's like, okay, here. Which black person is dumb enough to go ahead and catch this bone that we throwing out there? Bro, no, nobody. Us adults in the room that are really looking at what's going on in this world, what else are you gonna try to slap us in the face with, man?
He's
like, seriously,
very hard to get re-elected.
I agree.
460 plus years, and we talk about some reparations. So is this basically your way of saying, here's your reparations, black folks? This is what I'm trying to give y'all. Is that what he's trying to say? Is that what he's trying to say right now?
To me, it's pandering and it's insulting my intelligence. Just because you're donating to HBCUs does not mean that you support me as a black person. So don't hide behind that.
He cut funding the HBCUs.
All right, he's giving them back the money that he cut. That's what he's trying to do.
Well, my child ain't even going to HBCU, so that don't help me.
Donald Trump has never told the truth about anything in his whole natural fucking life. And you know something? He made promises to the racists that voted him in, and he didn't keep those promises. So
they gonna keep voting him.
Like? What kind of fool do I look like? You really think I'm that stupid? It is absolutely the epitome of his racist thought to even believe that you know what? If it was not for black people, this country would have blown up 100 years ago. Listen, you think we're stupid? We're not stupid. I know you people like to say, oh, we're smart, we're stupid, we're lazy, we're this and that. We ain't none of that. We ain't never been none of that. And here you come trying to talk to us like we don't know up from down and left from right. We've been watching you. You got 8% of us, and you still got 8% of us. And
oh no, Joe Biden doesn't keep his promises either.
Well, that's a different.
Joe is smart enough to not make any. Joe doesn't make any.
That's a different issue. But what I will say is this: I want to just emphasize the thinly veiled way that he worded this. Okay, so for example, he says his proposals will be building up peaceful urban neighborhoods with the highest standards of policing. What the fuck you think that means?
That sounds like you're building a plantation.
I'm not going front with you. When I read that, I was like, well, that was beautifully written. I don't agree with it, but it was beautifully written where you're like, really?
I'm
not saying for the smart folks. I'm not saying for the smart folks. For the smart folks in the room, I'm saying for them dumb folks, right? That read it and they're like, "Oh wow, that is so." I feel like, right?
Exactly. That's the mistake that they make. Is that they really do believe their own bullshit. They think we're stupid. We are so not stupid. Even the dumbest person, even the people that among us, we be like, that nigga is stupid. Even that one is smart, too smart to pick this. Even that one is smart enough to go, oh man, that motherfucker, he's stupid. I don't believe anything he said.
Look here, right?
Let's just be straight. Come on now.
You just don't care, do you? You don't care about this.
So here. This is. Notice how, like, we all know how Donald Trump sounds like a third grader when he talks, right? And we understand that America is not an educated country, right? So he speaks to. He's not speaking to us. He's not speaking to the educated. He's speaking to the uneducated. So when he says, "Hey,"
he was a C student at best.
Right. I'm not saying. I never said he was smart.
But here's the thing, though. Black people, we are a number one, top of the line bullshit detectors because we've had to be. And when a dude like him is coming out of his mouth with this kind of nonsense, you don't need an education. You don't need an education. You know this is nonsense.
No, but
we have developed that sixth sense. It is honed. It is fine-tuned. We know some bullshit when we hear it.
But here you go. But this is the point I'm trying to make, right? Is you have people who are just there to work. You got people that, all right, you have implementators, you have executioners, and you have the people that's in the middle. Those who just want to work, those who want to plan the work, and those who just want to oversee, right? He's talking to the workers. That's what he's talking to. He's talking to the cats that are, thanks for the big screen. He's talking to the cats that are straight up like, okay, all I'm doing is working. Work, guys. You worked hard for your homes. Here, we're going to make sure that your homes don't get burned down if there's something wrong with it, right? We're going to make sure that this Black holiday is a national holiday. We're going to do all this nonsense. He's not talking to you and I and them and him, right? He's just talking to he's talking to the poor, underfranchised people of this country.
And I'm telling you that the poor, underfranchised Black people in this country are smarter than he gives them credit for because they ain't picking this. They're not buying it. They're not buying it.
And let me tell Donald Trump something for just a second if he's listening. I know he's going to watch this show. Donald Trump, the people that you actually talking to, they don't vote no way. Sorry.
Right.
You're right.
A lot of them don't.
Okay. I just want him to know that.
Let's transition to those taxes. So Trump's tax information has come out. It's been quite interesting, actually. He's paid, $750 of personal taxes in 2016, 2017. A large part of the reason why Trump and the Trump organization were purportedly able to minimize tax payments was by claiming that substantial personal expenses, including Trump's lavish use of multiple residences, personal aircraft, and even hairstyling for his television appearances, should offset his income. The reporting also shows a long-time strategy of tax avoidance, using purported losses from the Trump organization. Obama paid $1.7 million in taxes in 2009. Bush paid $250,000 in 2001. So he's obviously seemed to learn how to not pay taxes. And it ain't got nothing to do with it don't seem like it has anything to do with capital gain. It seems like even on his earned income from his salary, he ain't paying no tax. What do y'all thoughts? Anybody got thoughts on that?
I mean, let me go ahead and not pay my taxes for that long and see what happened to me.
I know that's right.
Right.
He's white and a businessman, so
I don't.
But so was George W. Bush.
I think it's important.
Exactly.
there's an important distinction here, because what you're going to hear from the right politically is that he is just taking advantage of the tax laws. Now, we know the tax laws are already written for the wealthy. There are 1,000,001 loopholes that they can take advantage of completely legally. That's a problem. But that's what you're going to hear from the right. You're going to say, hey, listen, none of this was illegal. The tax code, he's just smart, taking advantage of the tax code. But I want to let you know, and I'm going to say it here because this is really the truth. That is not what he's done here. What he has actually done is set up corporations with the express purpose of avoiding a tax liability. And that has, and I'm saying this because I have a friend on my Facebook friends list who is very familiar with these types of issues. And she said, no, it's not the smart working through the tax code. What he did was actually there's a whole set of tax laws that apply to exactly what he's done. He's actually set up corporations with the express purpose of avoiding these taxes, and that is an illegal act, even under this particular tax law, with all the other loopholes and stuff that have been written in the tax code for the rich. But this ain't that.
I just want to say, if I knew how to do it and do it legally, I would do it too. So I ain't really shunning it much.
I mean,
I just want to say this.
I don't think a way to do it.
I want to say this. For everybody that's putting somebody else's kids on their tax return, y'all need to be your game up.
Right.
I think Kamala brought up a good point, though. Kamala brought up a good point.
What point did she bring up?
She said, this dude owes like $500 million. He has debts, personal debts, almost $500 million.
Dream, though.
And it's like, well, who does he owe that money to? And
But if I saw that, right? If I was like going to my last point, if I'm one of the uneducated and I see that this man pays $750, of course I'm gonna go vote for this. I'm like, oh, he did it. Why can't I do it? So that's it.
I know.
But see, that's what I'm saying though. When does stuff like this stop? When do we get these major corporation business owners, like, they need to go to jail, pay the taxes, do if they own a business, they need to pay these taxes. Stop trying to find these doggone loopholes. What makes it fair for them to get away with doing anything?
See, that's where I end up being on the opposite side, because I'm all about capitalism, fiscal conservatism, and loopholes and all this good rich folk stuff, even though I ain't rich. I like all
you be
that.
the one that's why my taxes go up every doggone year.
No. The Democrats is the reason your taxes going up.
That's a true story. That's a true story right there.
That's a true story. And
y'all get my topic.
We're about to go to it. I just want to say one last thing. I'm gonna let you introduce it. My thing is, I think Biden needs to win so we can get back to some normalcy overall. But I really do not want the Democrats to win the Senate. I think we still need checks and balances, because if Democrats win the Senate and they have the House, was that supermajority perhaps? Or that's too much power.
They just
too much power.
The Democrats don't know what to do with that power.
Exactly. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it's too much. So we'll get more. If we're gonna have a national law of all transgenders in every state, gonna be able to pick their jail, pick their bathroom, and I don't want that. So I think that we definitely need to keep the Senate red. The House Nancy can keep the House, and I don't care if Biden can have the presidency.
You're basically in favor of 4 more years of absolutely nothing getting done, and we will be absolutely nowhere, because there's nothing that will be done, because we have a Republican Party that is absolutely impossible to work with. Now, here's the thing: you can have a completely Democratic Senate. Here's the thing about the Democratic Party: we have the left, and we have more moderate. So there's no reason to keep the Republicans around, because the only thing they're doing is stopping anything from happening. The truth is that the left wing of the Democratic Party and the moderate wing of the Democratic Party will fight it out and figure out how to resolve it. And in a perfect world, in a perfect country, the Republican Party would look a lot more like And it has in the past actually looked a lot like the moderate wing of the Democratic Party right now. The Republican Party has brought nothing of value to the table. All they're doing is blocking everything and pushing forward policies that are hurting people. So to keep them in power as an idea about checks and balances is ridiculous. We have checks and balances within the Democratic Party. That's why Joe Biden,
they did that.
Nominee.
And
we had a more progressive wing of our party, and they often clash. That's what the argument should be. We shouldn't be arguing about whether or not to raise the minimum wage. We should be arguing about what it should be. But the $7.50 minimum wage is ridiculous, and that's not an argument you can have with Republicans. They're going to say,
that's not fiscally responsible.
No, they're not. No, the Republicans are absolutely not fiscally responsible. They're not. Every single time there's Republican governance, the deficit is going through the roof.
Look, to the point with the Republicans, right? So I understand exactly what you're saying with the liberals and the moderates, right? Like AOC is a liberal, Pelosi is a moderate, okay? They clash all day, every day, whatever.
That's
right? The point is like I think the more moderate portion of the Democratic Party should just go away, right? They're old, they're stupid, go, right? The Republican Party, as far as its checks and balances, so if you have liberals and those Republicans, that's where you have the checks and balances.
You gotta negotiate.
So for example, in the great state, the People's Republic of Florida, I have a moron as a governor. Big up to you, Ron DeSantis.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Yes, you do.
So this moron, Lord forgive him because he's not the way he did it, right? This guy, this character, this Fitzgerald Grant guy, right? He opened up the state. Third world, he opened up the state, right? He just wants to kill us all, right? He's a little Donald Trumpian, right? He needs to be out of the office. The point.
Y'all had him.
Oh wow, yeah,
you just killed.
Right? Did I say I wanted him? Hold on. To that point, honestly, to that point, to your point there. I don't blame the ignorance of Ron DeSantis. I actually do blame the black guy, right?
That picture should have been on the first topic.
Right. All jokes aside, I do not blame Ron DeSantis because he's ignorant. I do blame Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum should have fought harder, right? It's the same thing with Kevin in Georgia.
Y'all let me get to my topic.
You threw me
off. Let's talk about this topic, man. I've been wanting.
That's right. I got to talk about this
too. Last one, y'all. We good. We out.
All right, listen, man, because I got something to do too. Like my boy from Pittsburgh, I gotta go. Watch this, man. This thing right here, this blew my mind, right? Because number one, I hope y'all saw the video, and if you didn't, shame on you.
I did.
But there's so many things about this situation that bothers me. Number one, there was a whole bunch of white folks in the audience, so that's why it wasn't no riot. Number two, it was a black officer arresting a white woman, so therefore there was no uproar, right? And then number three, she still resisted arrest and made it home. There's so many conundrums about this situation that messes me up. It's like the white folks, they were sitting there quietly filming. But if it's like when you take the X factors out and you replace them with other things, then that's when you have the chaos and the confusion, right? If the the black officer was white, and then you change it to a black lady, then this thing is all over the news. And if all those white people, the standbys were all black, they would have been all up on the white dude with the gun. And it's like, that's real justice. Everything you saw in that video, that's what justice looks like, right? People not getting in an uproar to where, and they came and helped the police officer, right? This is what I'm saying, man. That's real justice. Now, if the white officers can do the black folks like that, we wouldn't have any problems. And if the black folks see the black person getting arrested by the white officer, wouldn't get up all up on them, then maybe they wouldn't pull a gun on you. So what I'm saying, man, is that if anybody can take a training video so that everybody can see how everybody's supposed to be acting? That's a training video that everybody should be watching the way how everybody's supposed to be acting, right? The white officers, the black pedestrians, and the black person that's gonna get arrested by the officer, and how dude did it. Man, he put his gun, tased him, and then he walked off.
And to add to that, the caveat to that, like, it didn't take 5 or 6 officers to arrest her ass either. It just took him by himself. He hit her with that taser one good time, and that was it. He put her in handcuffs and walked out. And he was getting, they were saying, you're stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Oh, I'm going to sue you for pushing me down. And he just kind of looked at us like, he was like, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my job. But, it makes perfect sense. Like, he did what he was supposed to. I think this shows that, we as Black people that are placed in those positions of authority like that, we do our jobs, and we do our jobs not with the maliciousness that we see that white officers doing to us as Black people. And, if you look at it like, hey, it can be done. This is the example that you set. You're here to protect and serve. Hey, she was violating what that high school said. Hey, she needed to wear a mask. She chose not to. And hey, she had to get on up out of there. And she had to get on out of there either peacefully or aggressively. Now, me personally, I probably would have popped her, again with a taser.
I would have tasered initially.
But you know what I'm saying? No, I'm not gonna shoot.
I can't be a
woman. You know what's funny to me though? If she was a Black woman though, he would have tased her. That's what's funny to me.
But here's the thing that I found funny. One was the commentary by the guy that was recording, right? Because he was recording it, then he went back to the football game, then he went right back to her. I was like, oh my, she's teasing her, right? So I was like, that commentary was incredible. But nonetheless, if it was, let's say it was role reversal, if it was a group of Black people and that woman was Black and was a white officer, I feel like it would have caused an uproar, because the white people were sitting there and they were very quiet. They just say, that's her business. She's getting tased. They didn't step in. They didn't yell. They didn't do anything. They just let the cop do her job and was like, all right, go ahead. I'm just here to watch my kid, right? Black people would have gotten up, been like, and would have caused the uproar for him. And then he would have been real scared, hence why he would have called 5, 6 other people, which could have caused him to some death.
That is true.
So the point is, mind your business and let the thing transpire. Play it to the end, as Madison likes to say, right? So there it is.
All right. His ass again. I hit it like 2 or 3 times.
Kept doing it just to see our reaction.
Yep, pretty much.
I got final thoughts here, and we're gonna get out of here. We way over. Put me on the big screen. Give me the sauce. Come on, give me the sauce. Let me get cool for that. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a great conversation. We had an opportunity to talk about Trump and his idiotic plan for the Blacks, which is how he would probably phrase it in private. We talked about, we had a hearty discussion on Gavin Newsom, the governor of California's new law. We talked about Trump's taxes. It was a great conversation. I appreciate everybody for coming on. I'm not going to say a whole lot. I'm tired now. But if anyone is watching, please subscribe, like, share. Tune in every Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You'll see a lot of these folks over and over and over. We have great input from these folks. I invite you all to come back anytime you want so we can do this again. So that's all I got. Let's get out of here. Peace out. Let's go to bed.